Good afternoon, awesome people. I hope everybody is doing well. Happy Sunday. I hope that a few of the faithful ones of us here will jump on this live video this afternoon for us to talk about this very sad story that has been trending in the African domain, in the Ghanaian domain. We've seen this one too many times, but yet again, this is another young lady who has tragically lost her life because of side chicken. Now, these are things that happen an awful lot of the time. And I've put this picture on, I'll put it on for a few seconds before I have my guest speaker on for us to discuss this whole issue. Now, before I go into the story, look at this young 26, 27-year-old young girl that is tragically not here anymore because of being caught up in some love web with a man who, to a very big degree, felt that he owned this woman. And so, if this woman is seemingly talking to or showing interest in somebody else and I can't have her, then nobody else can. There's also discussions back and forth, everybody showing or expressing their opinions. He invested so much in her, yada, yada. But the question is, as a married man, should you be investing in your own family, your wife and your children? Or should you be busy side chicken? Without any further talking, I have my guest speaker here today. Um, my very own sister Ikuamwa in the house. As always, we're here to talk about these real life issues and trying to figure out what has happened here. And as always, what are the lessons? What are the lessons that we can draw from these kinds of situations? And so, good afternoon to everybody who's here. Good morning, good evening, whatever the time happens to be. I salute you. My darling Ekuamwa, how are you doing? Welcome.
Oh, thank you, Sika. I'm also doing really well. And I want to use this opportunity to say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone who is listening to us. We really appreciate you. We want you to know that you spending time with us is something that we value and we appreciate. So, welcome, and we hope that you'll be able to learn something from us today.
So, my darling, the little bit that I know about this story is a young girl who's in her mid to late 20s that is in a relationship with this police officer in Ghana. According to the brother of the now deceased young lady, they had all gone to work and come back home. They live in a big house, it sounds like, and his bedroom was just right next to hers. He had gone to have a shower and came back, and she looked all dressed up to go out. And he asked her where she was going, and she said, oh, she just needed to go downstairs to meet somebody. Sounds like a story building. Initially, he said he just had this weird feeling not to permit the sister to go downstairs. He can't even put his finger on why, because she's an old girl. She's not a child, a minor, that he has to kind of control or tell when to do what. But that particular evening, he had this strong feeling not to allow her to. So they were, battling with each other for him to clear the path so she could go. And because he had just come out from the bathroom and he just had his towel around him, it started to, fall off him, and it was going to show everything. So, in his process of trying to gather himself and everything, she escaped and said, oh, she was going to come back. It wasn't going to take long. 20 short minutes later, according to him, he starts to hear fire, gunfire. And there were 6 shots in total. And he decided to go down to see what it was because he thought it was the police in confrontation with armed robbers because it had been an issue in that area, only to go downstairs and find somebody saying, hey, that's your sister lying in a pool of blood. And he's like, my sister, I just saw her a few seconds ago. What do you mean? And then to rush there and find his younger sister lying in a pool of blood with 6 shots. And apparently, these shots were fired close range. We've seen this before with Barbara Tommy, the same sort of thing. 6 of them, the head, the heart, the chest, all over the place. So this man didn't have the intention of saving this girl's life. He wanted her not to be here anymore. And when I listen to this whole thing, and the person who is alleged to have committed the crime, being a man in the security services, one, being married and having children, it just infuriates me to a whole new level. And, it's funny that yesterday I was talking about anger and what, those things can cause. These are some of the things that extreme anger can lead to. But I don't want to talk too much. I just want you to give me your 2 cents on this whole situation as you have come to see it.
Thank you, Sika. First, we want to say that may the soul of Maadwoa rest in peace. And then also, we're praying for comfort for her and her family, that God will grant them comfort because it's not easy. It's not easy to lose a loved one. Under no circumstance should anybody have to lose a loved one under these circumstances or anyone's life to be cut short. But when we listened to this story and as we saw it trending coming in on Thursday night, I believe is when I saw it, or Friday night, that I saw it on social media. There are so many Maadwoas out there. Okay, there are so many of them out there, and it's important that we address the social issues that allow some of these girls to sometimes sacrifice themselves. Um, Sometimes some of them also do these things willingly, right? So it's important that we really address the social issue. And even for her to engage in a relationship, alleged relationship with this man that was married, it still does not mean that she should suffer such fate. Anger, lack of self control is something most people need to deal with. We need to deal with the way we handle ourselves because this is really a situation of DV. And for those of you who don't know, because of Facebook, DV is when someone assaults somebody that they are in a relationship with. Okay, so this is a serious case of DV, and or we call it what thing because it's alleged that the man believed that um, she was also engaged in another relationship, that he found out about it, and then now he is angry. Lack of emotional control, lack of self control, that in the end he lives someone's takes someone's life, and then he forgets that he also had responsibility. He had a wife and he had children, right? Most of us could always make decision that makes us feel happy, right? He was making a decision that makes him feel happy, and he forgot that no matter what decision you make, so long as you are in a relationship or you brought a child into this world, every decision that you make has consequences. Okay? Most people never sit down and think about the decisions that they make.
Mm-hmm.
The only person they think about is themselves.
Mm-hmm.
First, you are married, then you go outside of your marriage. Going outside of your marriage, and then now this. If the person no longer wants to be with you anymore,
Move
or you
on.
find out the person is you also are married, so you're not planning to get married to her. I'm sure if you wanted to get married to her, you would have gone to see her parents, and then maybe marry her. Ghana, there's no laws in Ghana that prevent you from having a second wife. Maybe if you were lived in this western part, you know, if you live in Canada or in other parts of the world where polygamy is not allowed, then yes. But you live in a country that allows you to traditionally, I mean, legally you can only have one, but traditionally you can go have a second wife. Marry her, make an honorable woman out of her. Let your wife know. Maybe your wife also did not sign up to be what? Be in a situation whereby you are having a second wife or not, right? So before you make the decision to go outside of your marriage, know that there are consequences.
Mm-hmm.
And if also you are a girl out there, a woman out there, please, before you make a decision to be in a relationship with a married man, you know the man is married. Why are you following him? And if he wants to be with you, he will first leave his wife first and then be in a relationship with you. Know that you are making that decision. When you make that decision to continue to be in a relationship with a man who is married, there are also consequences. I'm not saying that because of that, Amadua does. No, she doesn't. Under no circumstance. By the end of the day, even if she did not, if this fate had not met her, she would have met something else, right? So it's important for us to know that the decisions that we make in our lives, the people we choose to have children with, the people we choose to be in a relationship with, the people we choose to be friends with, the directions that we choose to walk, all of them have consequences. And sometimes some of these consequences, if it will have bigger impact. Now, these children, they're not going to have a father.
Mm-hmm.
Their mom, does she work? You
Mm.
know, does she have the ability to provide for those children?
Mm.
Right? All of these things now you have disappeared. Your children now are, they are now going to be looked at. People are going to look at them in society. Their father is, is the one that did this. Their reputation, like so much distress. Not just family. The mom has lost a daughter that could have brought him her grandchildren, a daughter that could have been a prominent person in society, right? Regardless of what circumstance that she was in, she's still a person. She's still a person that also had a purpose. She's still a person that also had a destiny, right? So it's important that we think about the decisions that we make. How do you react in situation? Do you react out of anger?
Mm.
And when you are angry, what do you do?
Mm.
What do you do when you are angry?
Mm.
Because you're angry, you start throwing temper tantrums everywhere,
Mm.
right? Yes, you can be angry and then you can exchange a few words here and there. I do it. Sometimes you get angry and you exchange a few words here and there. But some people, they take their anger to the extreme ends. They lack empathy, they lack unforgiveness, they are so bitter, and then the devil and the enemy put stuff in your head. And the next you know, you buckle up, and then boom, the situation with Barbara as well, you know. And all of these things are things that we need to talk about. We need to address this issue. How do you manage your anger? How do you manage your emotions?
Mm. The first thing that I wanted to talk about, and I want your reaction to really, is this whole sense that because I'm starting to see a trend with some men who have in relationships with younger girls, they're not married, they're single, and they're seeing other people. Maybe they've made a huge investment in them or whatever. They help them go to school, blah, blah, blah. And then the girls have turned around and said they don't want them anymore, vice versa. There are women who have also made huge investments in men. The men have ended up leaving them and gone to marry other people that they felt were better for them. Those people to one side. It wasn't it a few weeks or months ago, short months ago, when we were talking about this bank manager guy who was married to a very respectable medical officer with children and was also going around gallivanting around and felt that he owned his side chick. And so now that the side chick is standing up to him, he's also crying foul. Now, this whole thing about somebody feeling they own you just because you're dating them, in relationship with them, financial whatever has exchanged hands, I want us to address that from the very get-go, because that's what made me angry. Really, you're married, what business do you have with a single younger girl? What did you think was going to happen? Where was this relationship headed? Was it even ever defined? Eku, I want you to respond.
You know what, Sika? One of the things that nobody can own anybody. No one. Nobody can own anybody. All of us have our own free will. Nobody can own anybody. And it's important that these married men or these men who think that they have arrived, whether you think you have arrived or you think that you are God's gift to women, because of that, you want to flaunt around. There are many, many, many consequences out there for you. Okay. If it's not STD, it's going to be something else. You're gonna this bank manager, he ended up losing his career. Nobody has made you in charge of taking care of somebody else's daughter. You have your own children. Are you done taking care of them?
Mm-hmm.
Before you go and carry another woman and say, "Oh, I'm going to take care of you. If you do this for me, if you become my side chick, if you do that, don't worry. My wife is this, my wife is that." And you too, the girl, your ears will be tingling, because he's going to buy you what? Buying you bags, shoes, clothes, paying for your school fees, and you are happy and you are going through all of that. My dear, there's time for everything, right? And because he is doing a transactional relationship with you, he now feels like you're a piece of his property.
Mm.
And this is where I want to address our women. Every woman listening to the sound of my voice. As a woman, you should find yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Know who you are. Respect yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Have a purpose for
Mm-hmm.
your life.
Mm-hmm.
One thing you have to know is that men are always looking for their victims, and they will always find a willing victim. And when they come to you, the things that they will not do for their wife, they will do for you,
Of course.
because they've not thought about doing the same thing for their wife. So their wife will also be reciprocating the same love back. So they will buy you trips to take you to this island, buy you trips. Do you think that if he was buying those trips to take you to that island, take you there, do you think that his wife is also not going to be so happy with the hair bastard and do all of those things? You should know that.
Hmm.
So you are not unique. There's nothing extraordinary about you.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing fancy about you. The only
Mm-hmm.
thing that is making him manage you is because he can control you.
Mm-hmm.
Now he can tell you what to do. You say jump, you say how high. You are at home and you leave your home. Your brother is trying to even make you stay. And because you want to show him how high you can jump, you go out and then you go and meet your fate. Don't exchange yourself, your dignity, your purpose, all the great things that God has called you to do in the name of a few handbags, in the name of, oh, I want to go to school. He's paying for my education so that I will pay for this for me to go to university. Who told you that if you go to university, you're not going to, if you don't go to university, you will not become somebody? There are people who don't. I personally know someone, the person cannot even pronounce my name, but the person is stinking rich. Stinking rich. He just knows basic things, basic, you know, basic, he has basic education. But what does he know? He knows how to sell, he knows how to um, be a merchant and, you know, buy things, resell, you know, and he has, today he has, yeah, what his first, his doctor, his daughter is a doctor,
Mm-hmm.
son is a computer engineer,
Mm-hmm.
right? Who told you that you need an education to become somebody?
Mm.
Don't use the fact that, oh, I need money to go to Legon or Unilag or whatever as an excuse for you to sell your soul or sell yourself short. Because the person that you will encounter, maybe you saw your friend is with a married man and everything is going well. My dear, you don't know the protection that person has gone. You don't know the authority that person has go and submit their soul to protect them. Maybe you don't know. They will not tell you the truth. You go in there with your two eyes, and in the end, you end up meeting the fate of Maadwoa.
But what actually happened in this case, though, even though it's the common theme, I think from what I saw in the story was that the young girl had been called by her friend, which means that the guy had colluded with the friend because apparently he had been trying to reach her for about 2 months without success. She stopped picking his calls. So he went through the friend, knowing full well that if the friend fronted the thing and said, "Oh, I'm downstairs, come and take this," she would come. So it was only when she got there to meet the so called friend that it actually turned out that the guy was there too. But unbeknownst to the friend also didn't think that he was going to take things to that level because he had told her that I've been calling your friend and she's not picking up. Can you please help me go and, Then she turns up and then things go crazy. Apparently, this is how it all happened. This is what actually ensued. And this is what makes this story even more tragic.
It is tragic. But Sika, you know what? This thing called friendship,
Hmm.
people need to re-examine the people that they hang out with. You need to examine the people you surround yourself with. And I'm talking to both men and women. Because obviously, if the friend, whether she knowingly or unknowingly, did this, she herself, she's probably not in debt. And you know what? How do we know that the girl had already suffered some sort of DV from this man already?
Yeah, that's true. We don't
That
know.
she already know the type of person he is, right? Either he was controlling, he didn't know how to control his anger. Because for anybody that has go to those extents, remember in Barbara's case, remember he went to meet her at the brother's house. Remember
Yes.
the altercation.
Yes.
They don't just get up and act this way. They always leave seeds. They leave crumbs. There always has to be the first time that he hits you, the first time that he slaps you, the first time he threatens you. All those things are there. And that I believe that maybe, maybe she knew the kind of relationship she had with him. And
Mm-hmm.
that probably was the reason why maybe she was trying to avoid,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's important we understand the friends we surround our friends ourselves with.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know there's some friends who are very sharp,
That's true.
right? They're very sharp. They'll be able to read they'll be able to read somebody very quickly,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because and I honestly feel really bad for her friend, right? Because if it was somewhere like Canada right now, that's depraved indifference. You know that.
And now she would also be in
Yes,
trouble
that,
because
that is
how
actually
did you not know that he was
yes.
capable of doing this?
Yes, there's something called depraved indifference. That means you are there, but you didn't know what was going to happen. So you are still somehow legally liable, right? So we all have to be careful, right?
Yeah.
If somebody something like this, and you should always know, because I'm sure the girl some at some point has shared with a friend some kind of encounter he's
Mm,
had with the guy. Because
mm,
most women, please, let's stop being excessively secret when it comes to DV issues. Let's Because if someone is you are going through physical, like especially when it's physical,
mhm.
someone is threatening you, saying things. It doesn't matter whether you are side hand or side chick or whatever it's called. Your life is more important. Your life is valuable. Okay? Your At the end of the day, no matter who you are, your parents love you, your brother loves you, your sister, there's someone who loves and cherishes you.
That's
So
true.
don't let someone take advantage of you and cut you short. Because I don't really get, because anger issues, DV, domestic violence. Yeah, somebody say, oh, but they're not married. No, this is still domestic violence. This is still, femicide, abuse against women, because a woman should have her right to say no. She had every right to tell him, I don't want to be in a relationship with you. And that does
Anymore.
not mean anymore. And that does not mean that her life needs to be cut short. So it's important women flee away from domestic violence situation. Whether she when she had knew, she should have relocated. Because I don't think somebody who is very determined, regardless of the circumstance, he would have tried and track her down.
Yeah. It's just in on all accounts, it's just a nightmare. Period. It is just sadly a nightmare. Now the question is, did she know he was a married man?
Those things, people, most people who go into these kind of relationship go and pick, young girls here and there and do all sorts of things. Buggers that go to Ghana, they will never tell. Some of them, you by the time you find out, you're already into it, right? It could be the same circumstance, right? So when it comes to those areas, sometimes it's easy to blame people. There are people who are out there who say, me, the only people I date is married men, right? There are also people who sometimes, oh, me, I'm going to leave my wife. We are no longer together. Blah, blah, blah. My wife is this woman is that. She's lazy. She's that. We are not even together. We are just, maybe because of something she did for me, in case of this banker. I'm sure that was probably what he was ranting about, right? You know, she goes to, she's always working. She doesn't have time for me. She's doing this, picking shift at the hospital, blah, 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 blah. And then because the wife is always at the hospital, he now has time to, gallivant and take you out on vacation and do all of those things, right? So some of us women, we just need to examine ourselves, and we just need to be deeper thinkers.
Mm,
You just have to know and choose to say, what is my purpose? The relationship that you are going through, what is in it for me? Does it help me? What is the end goal? Or am I just going in because I need a few dollars to take care of myself? And whilst he's taking care of me, what does that mean for him? Does
mm,
it mean that I'm his property?
mm,
And if you're a property, you should know that you can be discuss you can easily be thrown in the trash any day, anytime. And is that how you value yourself?
mm,
Right? Is that how you value yourself? Is that how you see yourself?
mm.
Right? So it's important that we as women, and also mothers, because Sika, some mothers too can be very bad.
I know.
Honestly, let's just be honest. Some mothers, even when their daughters don't want to go into such relationship, they will push their daughters into it.
Mm.
Help me pay the bills in the house. I need help. I can't pay your school fees. Look at your friends. Look at how their hair's. Don't you see those fine, fine clothes your friends are wearing? Don't you see how, you're always looking so good? Look at you. Did you see the man that came to drop them? That's Akosia last day. Did you see the kind of cars that are always coming and dropping, all these Burma for? Don't you see them? Don't you see your friend? Some mothers are like that, Sika. You
That's
know
true.
that.
That's true.
You know that.
Yeah, of
They
course.
will push you. Some mothers push their daughters to the edge. I'm not saying this is what happened. Please. We are not saying this is what happened in her case. We're here to really talk about the social issues, the things that actually that drive such things from happening. Women, he hits you, he kicks you, and then you continue to stay. When you decide to leave, he threatens you, and then you take the threat lightly. You don't tell anybody. You need to let people know. And if you're leaving, you have to leave for your safety.
Mm-hmm.
Don't leave anything to chance because this thing, regardless, is still a relationship. Whether whether she was a side chick or side hand, for me, I'm not as much as interested in as her fate, right? And how we women need to make sure that we protect ourselves. We have to be conscious of the relationship we go in.
Mm-hmm.
Is it worth it? He pays my school fees, but then I can end up being 8 feet under.
Yeah.
Is that worth it? Or
Yeah.
am I better off being in the market,
Mm-hmm.
being a breast seller or selling, you know, until I am able to raise the money to take myself to school? It's better than being 6 feet under.
True. Now, there's been a few points that have been raised here, which I think you already touched on. The first one was from our sister Elizabeth, who said that we also need to educate our women to be independent. We should work hard and fix our own selves. Stop depending on men. A working woman is a free woman. And I think she's just really reiterating some of the points that you've raised yourself in your narration and the things that we are talking about here. The thing that I want us all to understand is that whilst we're using the whole Maadwoa story as a test case, we're not only basing our commentary or decisions or whatever on what has happened in her case. We are
Mm.
just trying to use this as a stepping stone to learn all the valuable lessons that are associated here. Whether she was a side hen, a side chicken, a side whatever she was, this sort of ending was not what she deserved. She was still a human being. There were still two consenting adults that decided that that was what they wanted to do. She's not the only one who does it. Even here in the West, people live that kind of a life. So you don't have any right to take somebody else's life because they don't want to tangle anymore. Now, my sister um, is also here. Welcome. And she's talking about we are still learning from experiences and signs of abused individuals and abused partners. So we should imagine if Ghana, without any governmental interventions and how things are. I get it. But the fact of the matter is that at the end of the day, you are the one who is going to be 6 foot under. So whilst we're waiting for the government to intervene and catch up and set up all these interventions that we're talking about, a lot of which in my opinion, are done by NGOs, non-governmental organizations. So maybe if we also got ourselves together and had institutions that are non-governmental that are in place, because we are not the only people that talk about these sorts of things. But at the end of the day, Maadwoa is 6 foot under, never to come back to tell her story. So maybe we women also need to take up the mantle because it's our lives that are on the line. And for me, I would go the extra mile of also saying that, you see, my darling Ekwamwa is very hurtful because making money is not that easy. You know, I know. And so sometimes when we get into relationships with people that we know don't measure up and become financially reliant on us for a long period of time, you've invested, it's not even just financial, emotional, because there's emotions attached to making money. I'm sorry, but there is. And so when there's all of that sort of thing that has taken place, forget about the fact that, yeah, because a lot of women say that, but if I spend this money, what is wrong with it? After all, he's getting the cookie. Yeah, he's getting the cookie. But when he was putting SIM card, he wasn't the only one who enjoyed it. You did too. That can't become some kind of a financial transaction, as if, excuse me to say, you're that kind of a worker. Like that's what you do. You give that in exchange for money. If that's what you're doing, then set up a company and let's all understand that that's what you do.
Oh my God.
That is a very smart move to make. But until you set up a company, you don't, to me, it doesn't make any sense. But this is all neither here nor there. At the end of the day, it is our darling sister who is 6 foot under. And it's her family who have lost out on a soul that could have been something. So yeah, we want to always talk about all these things and apportion and appropriate blames to everybody else and their dog. But for me personally, at the end of the day, we as women need to protect our own selves. You need to protect yourself. I need to protect myself. The big question I'm asking is, why did she stop talking to this man? There was something.
And I honestly believe that he them she must have either witnessed or see or had some kind of that encounter with him
Mm-hmm,
prior to this incident, because people like that,
mm-hmm,
they must always show signs,
mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm,
And going back to some of the things that we also women can do,
mm-hmm,
right? What we can always do is we shouldn't wait till the tragic incident to happen before we talk about it, right? We should always make sure we are reminding the women in our lives,
mm-hmm,
the young girls in our lives, that it's not okay. Just if a man, as do all those things to you, it doesn't mean he loves you. It doesn't mean all of those things. You should know your worth as a woman. You should know who you are, right? And it's important that we educate ourselves, educate our young girls, and educate the people around us,
mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm,
And as we are talking about this, it reminded me of an event I went last year.
mm-hmm,
Story was talking about this. So there's this is, I mean, we live in the traditional territory of the Metis. So this Metis woman, I believe this was, I think they said, early 19, mid, just when they were transitioning from removing, canceling, getting rid of the residential schools. And she noticed that most of the women in her community, they were facing um, DV and all those things, right? And she was fortunate enough to have been a little bit, have something in her hand. And also she also, because those people today have the same traditions as us Ghanaians.
yes,
They have the chief and the queen
yes,
mother, the whole thing. So she happened to be of a royal lineage, so she had some money. So what she did was she found one plot of land there on 17th Avenue. And then she started whereby the women, they can come there and then stay there with their children if they have children and all those things. Anyways, fast forward today. Now this is a very big thing where women who are both Caucasian, black, immigrants can now go to that place to flee from domestic violence, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's important that we women understand our role that we play in saving some of these lives,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the statistics will definitely show that we are more likely
Mm-hmm.
to face such situation. So it's important, if we are here, please don't take it for granted. Today he throws a bottle at you, tomorrow he pulls your hair out, you know, tomorrow you beats you and punch you in the stomach that you're pregnant and you lose a baby, and then you continue to stay. One day you're going to be 6 feet under, right? A few years ago was a tragic story of one girl that, she also had left, and somehow the guy found out where she was, that she was either dropping her kids with the mom, and he stopped her,
Mm-hmm.
killed her, and left behind kids. Like, at the end of the day, this guy, he's also gone. We don't know what happened to him, but he's leaving behind his wife and children. Maadwoa's parents too have nothing. So women, a woman should live to be financially independent. If you are, I also know some women who are financially independent who also still want to do those kind of things. And then they call themselves social media influencers. Meanwhile, they are milking their high class side hands. You're not helping anybody. You're not deceiving, you're just deceiving yourself, coming there and flaunting and saying that you are flying to here, you are doing this, you are holding $10,000 handbag, $5,000 handbag, you know, all of that. If you're a woman that is of purpose, a woman that wants to really do something, you invest that money in other women. Don't allow deception, vanity upon vanity, because Maadwoa is a very beautiful girl. I believe
Yes.
that she could have gotten any beautiful, responsible, handsome young man to marry her, but today she's 6 feet under. Going around and outside of your marriage. I don't want to be biblical here. I don't want to be righteous here. I don't want to, do all of that. But we ourselves, we have to think about this.
Mm.
Is it worth it?
Mm.
What benefit does it give me? Is
Mm.
it giving me emotional stability? Does it give me emotional sound mind? Am I able to sleep at night? And by the way, even if he's not going to abuse me, do I know the type of woman his wife is?
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes, if it's not the man, it can be the wife.
Mm-hmm.
So, you women, let's love ourselves first. You cannot love somebody until you love yourself. And if you love yourself, you will not defile yourself. If you
That's
love yourself, you will not put yourself in a place whereby anybody can take advantage of you.
true.
The, Jesus said, what? Jesus said, don't cast your precious pearls before swines. If you do, they will trample upon it.
That's true.
Do you know
That's
how hard it is to get pearls?
mm-hmm.
Ladies, we are pearls. We shouldn't let people try just walk all over us. There are consequences. Work hard for yourself. There's nothing wrong. Don't look at what your friends are doing. They have
Mm.
a different destiny. They have a
Mm.
different purpose. Their purpose and their destiny is not the same as yours.
True. Sometimes we also, I mean, I don't know what it really is. I think that there has been some decimation of morals because as a teenager, and I know this is true for you for the most part as well. It's not to say that when I was growing up back in Ghana that there weren't people who gave parts of their bodies to men for whatever, but it was a very harsh thing. It was almost like bordering embarrassment. And so people didn't want other people to know because they were embarrassed that they had to do those things in order to survive. But right now, it's just like blatant in your face. There's no shame, there's no nothing. It's the order of the day. You can just do what you like. And you see, some of these things become labels that you now have. And sometimes I find that a lot of our young people, when they're young and silly, they don't really care about these things, forgetting that this kind of lifestyle, when you live it, you can't ever, it's almost like an indelible mark. You can't ever rub it off. And today, in today's era on social media, when you come up with that whole facade that that is the sort of person that you are, a few short years later, when all the mangoes are sagging like my own and nobody is interested, you take them go market, nobody they buy them anymore. What are you going to do at that time? People haven't forgotten. The records are still there. People can still see it, right? And it is these. It's very sad in our community that it's always we the women that are always left last. Two people go and do something. It's sweet you, it's sweet me. But at the end of the day, when the cookie crumbles, it's always the woman that gets tarnished with that imagery. The man who went to cheat on his wife and children and go do this with this, he just gets to fade into the sunset. If he's never caught, then hey, after a while, this whole thing, it's sad now. We're all talking about it. Oh, it's so miserable. How could he do that? But in a few short weeks, there'll be something else, and we would have all moved on to
Mm,
that something else.
mm.
But Maadwoa's family is still left with nothing. She ain't coming back.
You know what, Sika? Just to address your first point, social media is not real, ladies. Social media is not real.
Hmm.
People can Photoshop that they are lying at the beach, meanwhile, they are not there. Okay? So if you're a young woman listening, don't follow what your friends are posting on social media. And even that's, I was in a social media class last week, Monday, and you'll be shocked. And this social media aspect, the things that these kids and all these things are being exposed. We'll talk about that another time. But social media is not real. Don't follow what your friends are flaunting on social media and do likewise. Okay? It's important for me. I think that the basic of anything is education.
Mm,
We need to educate ourselves. We need to empower ourselves.
mm,
And then one of the things that I also want to use this medium to say, if your child is good at doing hair, and
mm,
this thing I always tell people, if you are good at doing hair, there are people who do people's hair and charge $5,000. Aspire to be that, right? It doesn't mean that because you know how to do, you're doing hair or you're doing makeup. It doesn't mean that because you're not getting up and going to the office and be speaking English like Sika does not mean you are worthless. No, that is what God has given to you.
mm,
So focus on it, be
mm,
diligent with it, and
mm,
that will earn you the money,
mm,
and you can earn and get more money to do the things that you desire, the things that you want. If
mm.
you also want to go and buy Louis Vuitton bag, you can do hair and buy it. You don't need someone's old man with big fat belly to go and rub it before you can get that.
Thank you.
Right? You can empower yourself. And I'm challenging all the women listening. Encourage the young girls in your life. Don't just be looking at them, they are going astray, and you just watch them. You know, you don't need to talk down on them, you don't need to judge them. But
Mm,
what you can do is you can live an exemplary life. You can live a life that they will aspire to be like you. that when they grow up, they want to be like you know, and organize things, have sessions, talk, have group session. You are in a church, you're seeing lots of young women going astray, doing things, they're not going to school, they're not doing all of those things, they're out there on the street. Don't look at them and don't be happy that people are busy gossiping about them. Don't
Mm-mm.
join that. Find ways how you can engage them. Because as we are talking about this, Sika, you forget that 3 weeks ago, they went to search somebody's farm in Chestermere, and they found out that Oga has been carrying all these young women, and that one of those young men escaped. That's
Mm.
how police
They found out.
land. Do you
Mm-hmm.
know how much it is to buy land in Chestermere? This man has money to have
Mm,
that acreage
mm,
in Chestermere to be
mm,
carrying these young women who
mm,
were out there on the streets.
mm,
So everywhere we are, these things are happening. It's not really peculiar to Ghana. It's not peculiar to Africa. These things happen where young women are putting themselves out there all the time. I want to share a story. Last time I was listening to this story
mhm,
of this woman.
mhm,
She's in Ontario, Caucasian woman. And she said, so she was a lawyer.
mhm,
And then she had lost her job at a law firm.
mhm,
And she said that she had attended um Oprah had, I think, a time show. I forgot what it is. And I think Oprah had a session about something got to do with your purpose. And
mhm,
we had Bishop, TJ Day, Jakes, and few life coaches there. And this woman said she was there. Oprah, they showed a clip of someone who was doing prison ministry.
mhm,
Okay? So a person who goes to prison and provides skills and training to people in this in that environment. So as
mhm,
she was sitting there, boom, that's how she discovered, because that time that was the week she's lost the job. So she felt out of place and stuff. So boom, she said, what if I also do the same thing in Ontario? So anyway, so that's how she decided 12 years ago or 10 years ago to do that. And for her, she was providing people who, men and women, who out of anger have committed a violent
act.
crime, teaching them why, helping them with their anger management and stuff. As she was doing that, she was discovering more social issues, more and more. And in the end, she said there was one woman that the woman really transformed her life and everything. And this woman was, being let out. So she asked her also when, and but this woman was also on the streets, like doing
Mhm,
prostitution. So she's like, so like, what are your plans? Like, what are you gonna do? She's like, oh, I want to go to school and blah 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 blah. But then, you know what the woman told her? But once I step out of this facility, there's nothing out there in the world for me. So the probability I'm most likely going to go back. He said the woman now opened her eyes to see that there are actually taxi drivers and some men who purposely hang out the facility.
of course, so that when you come out, you'll
So
grab
when
you
the
from there.
women say, because they don't give them enough money for them to get a ride. So if they say, let's say they want to go in, they only give them a token to take the bus. So if they need to travel far from the fare they're giving them, then they have to give themselves to these men. This story I'm telling you, this is not Ghana, this is Canada. And I just was listening to this podcast maybe 2, 3 weeks ago, right? So what am I saying? We as women, we can always do our part to help. She chose to do something to help. What are you doing?
Mm,
What are you doing to help?
mm,
Right? What are we doing to save many Maadwoa? Maybe you have a catering, you're in Ghana, you have a catering school. You can at least every year allocate a portion of your students. Don't be too greedy for money, right? Portion of your student percentage that you say that me, 10% of these students, we are funding everything that they need, every single thing that they need.
Mhm.
Maybe you're a seamstress.
Mhm.
You, instead of being greedy that their parent, every parent must pay for their, you can dedicate. That is your commitment to your community. Because a woman who is empowered is less likely to go into such situation. Sometimes it's self-esteem. And some of us parents, what are you doing to make sure your child has good self-esteem? Because you know self-esteem can make some girls do that.
Oh, of course.
They might have money, they might have everything,
But
but
they just don't see themselves
because
as
of low
worthy.
self-esteem, they will do that. Self-esteem. Let's teach our girls how beautiful they are, how how precious they are. They are like diamonds. Let them know that they play a good role, that there's nothing bad about them. Self-esteem. We want to save the, because Madra can be any woman. She can be an Indian woman. We see them all the time. Last time, statistics shows that in femicide, which is females that are being lose their life as a result of a partner, a brother, or a family member, is it has risen by 29%.
Mhm.
This is realities that is happening.
Mhm.
So we are all gatekeepers. We are keepers of each other. Brothers out there, protect your sisters. Don't, as a man, don't sit at home, not working, and your sister is the one going and coming because mommy said she's beautiful. So all the rich men in the neighborhood are toasting her. You, as a man, get out and protect your sister by working hard. So your sister retains her dignity. Don't say she's your other sister. She's not your other sister. You are a man. If your father is no more, take charge of your family. You have to take charge of your family and protect your sister. She is a seed carrier of your family.
And you know what is really sad as well is that women do all these things and all of that. But I think that later on in life, because there are people that I have come across who, for whatever reason, have ended up living this Majua kind of thing. Later on in life, it is full of regrets.
Yes.
And that then leads to a lot of mental health issues. A lot of mental health issues. The other point I wanted to raise is that all these things that you're talking about have become even more rife now on the back of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
When COVID was going on, we were all shut inside, you have nowhere to go. People were suffering in silence. Now, on the back of it, a lot of people are so, they don't even know what to do with themselves. A lot of DV has gone on. If it's not mental and emotional, it's physical or a combination of the three. And it's not any strange person that you think is so far removed from
No,
you. It's your own friends and your own brothers and sisters that are looking at you in your face every day. They are the same people that these things are happening to. And it's really, really sad, because I cannot for the life of me understand how this young, beautiful woman, every time I look at the picture, I just get upset all over again. The brother was saying that she had a job. She was a trader. She'd go to, these neighboring countries and bring all kinds of things and retail them. So the question is, why did she feel the need to be doing this?
it's pressure, social pressure. So the social pressure, like, don't you see the kind of lifestyle they're trying to live? the type of hair they want to wear, the shoes they want to do, all the parties, the type of weddings that they have. You not seen the weddings they are putting up in Ghana these days? People abroad, how many of them can put up such weddings in the diaspora? By the time you're done, you guys will be like, so women need to understand. We need to understand our roles. We need to understand who we are. You know, empowerment. Empowerment is not only education.
Mm-mm.
Empowerment is also having self-confidence,
Mm-hmm.
having good self-esteem. Don't
Mm-hmm.
allow people to pull you down. Don't follow friends. Don't follow people because you don't know what people are doing to protect themselves. You don't know what people are doing, their families are doing to protect them as well. Right? Countless and countless time and time again. It's like being the diaspora as a young black man. And then you follow what your Igbo friends are doing. They are going on a race car, you too, you join them. And then you join them in the race car. Excuse me, maybe his uncle is a lawyer. Maybe his grandfather's best friend is the judge. You, who do you know? Who do you know? So it's important. Let's not follow those people on social media. Those that want to, you know, do the papanums and thems. We just got to be careful, you know, because you're with a married man, then you also have a side boyfriend. Like, what kind of situation are you putting yourself in?
Robbing Peter to pay Paul.
It's not fair. Regardless of the circumstance, we all need to be very, very discerning. We should go into relationship purposefully.
Mm.
Just don't go into it because you want to be smart. You want
Mm-hmm.
to try and steal from somebody or you want to use somebody. Nobody wants to be used and dumped. Nobody. Not even the married man. The married man wants to use you and dump you. He doesn't want you to use him and dump him.
Mm-hmm. What's good for the
So,
goose is good for the gander, I guess.
exactly. So we all need to be very careful. Let's live a life that is purposeful. Okay? If it's education that you want, you can help yourself. There's no end. There's somebody who's 70 who is now graduating from college. That whole 50 years of their life or 70 or 64 years of their lives, it didn't mean that we're useless, right? They still have something they were doing every day to empower themselves, to equip themselves, to make sure that they get fed. God has given you two hands, He's giving you 2 feet. What is in between your leg is not what is going to bring you food
Mm.
because eventually all of those places are going to get old and then somebody else will come and then there's going to be another young breed then are going to be a younger, so the Bible, beauty was it fades, right? So it's important that, think about yourself, think about your future, think about
Mm.
what you want to do, what makes you happy. Definitely being shocked with somebody's husband is not what's going to make you happy. If
No.
you tell me that's going to make you happy, I don't see how that's going to make anybody happy because you're always going to be worried.
Mm-hmm.
What is going to happen? When is he going to dump me? Is he going to leave his wife for me? What is going on? Then your mind is always all over the place. And next you know, you're going to have a mental breakdown.
And at our ages now, I mean, I know Maadwoa was a lot younger than both of us here now, but I always speak about peace. There's something about peace of mind, especially when you're older, because it gives you the clarity of thought to be able to then make progress with your life, you know. And sometimes when you do all these things in your younger years because you think you have the time, what it breeds and leaves behind is a lot of emotional debris that you can't see. Later on in life, there's all these regrets and how you wish things had been different and all of that. And as my sister has said, people always associate success and progress with education, as if that's the end all and be all. Education is just a tool, it's a means to an end. Yes, it's good to have, but right where you are, right there, like there, you can make something of yourself. I have a sister who everybody on the face of it thinks that she is very, because she's a professional and she makes good money and blah blah, or she should, people expect or think that she makes good money, that she should be able to raise her child and afford whatever and all of that by herself. But if you live in Ghana, you know that government salary is government salary. She also has every right to also be a Maadwoa to somebody, some richer guy, and do whatever. She bakes cakes. It started as a joke. Oh, banana loaf. You know, she made banana loaf, wrapped it up in plastic cling film and then a foil. And then she went to work the next day and it's like, oh, I was just playing around in my kitchen and I came up with this loaf and, here you go and whatever. It's now taking off. This weekend now, somebody wants 10 loaves of banana loaf. This person wants banana cake. That person wants that. She can't even keep up with her orders anymore because she's got to teach. And those little man, you won't think of it as anything. The 20 Ghana, 40 Ghana, that's how she puts fuel in her car for the week and
Mm,
stuff, and get some of
mm,
the money to look after her child.
mm,
So
mm.
sometimes people make it sound as if it's some far-fetched thing that we're talking about. It's not. It's not.
Yeah, because I'm actually happy you brought this point out. And we really need to talk about this as well. If you're a mother and you're listening to us, or even a dad, you're listening to us, your wife is not listening, it's important that both your girl and your boy child, I'm not the kind of one principle I have is I believe that we should train both genders equally. There is nothing that is we shouldn't train the girl child to get ready for marriage and then neglect the boy child, because the boy child is going to marry the girl child. Okay, so it's important that regardless of the level of attainment that you have attained in life or success you have in life, to be able to have affluence, to be able to help your children go to the best schools or whatever, have the best opportunity, let them learn a few basic things, like how to bake a cake. Okay. If you live in the West, whether you live in the Western world or wherever, let them learn something, either how to bake a cake or in um, if you live in Canada, for example, or US. Siga, do you know that Home Depot,
Mhm.
they actually have classes for young boys and girls to go and learn basic building stuff, right?
Wow.
Yes, they do. And then even Michael's also have a craft class where they teach craft. So if you cannot teach them at home, there are lots of companies around that they do. You just register your child, let them go and learn some of these handwork. Okay, it's going to help them. If in case something happens that you're not there, they're not able to attain the education that they want, they already have it. Especially this Home Depot thing is really, really good because they teach them how to use a drill, how to do this, how to do that. And I believe they start from 13 years. 13 years. So if you are people who are interested, you can go to their website. They have it in the Home Depot website somewhere there about bringing your kids in to come and learn some of these basic things as well. Even some of the builders, okay, those of you who are into real estate, some of the builders also in the summer offer programs for your young children to go and learn some of the things. They go and learn some of the things, how they build the homes, right? Don't let them stay at home and be watching. And then the end, when they grow up, the only thing they know how to do is to open the two legs, you know. Let them learn how to bake. Let them learn how to make very universal food, like let's say fried rice. Fried rice is very universal. Asian eat it, mac and cheese if you're in abroad, if you are in Ghana. Let them learn, how to make meat pie. Sika, all those things, those kind of little things, if they can have the opportunity when they come home for your child has finished SS. Why are they staying at home? Then they
Mm.
shower and then they'll be hanging out with area girls and area boys. Go and ask that woman that owns the salon there, please, how much would it cost for me to let my daughter come here every morning? In fact, you know what? Can my daughter come here every morning? I'm waiting for her result to come. But can she come here every morning? And then maybe if you need water, send her. By the time your child gets up and go, they'll be watching the girls braid. They'll be like, okay, we braid the bottom, you braid the end. By the time you realize your child knows how to braid hair, right? Don't leave everything to chance.
Mm.
We don't want to see any more Maadwoas.
Mm.
Empower your child, whether male or female, empower them, because he too is inferiority complex that makes a man want to take the life of a woman because he has inferiority complex. Let's just
Hmm.
call it what it is.
Yeah. Feels
Lack
he's
of,
lost control of her.
yes, inferiority complex, lack of self control, anger, not able to control your anger. I think I'll end here.
Yeah, I think we will wrap up now. If you've got your last anything that you wanted to say last, just say it and let's go. This story is just too tragic. Like it's just too sad. That's it.
One of the things that I think that I would say is we need to tailor, the government need to step in. They need to step in and help tailor a law that will discourage, you know, people from, doing this. Because unless there's real consequences, people will continue to do that. And this is not just particular to Ghana alone, right? Around the world, the life of women are valuable, right? And in places like Ghana, when men want to get in that your skirt before they give you a job, there should be laws against that. Because really, that all those things, they demoralize women. Because you struggle, you go to school, and at the end of the day, you not open, you don't get. No, all of these things are what is making driving some of these women in some places. You work in the bank, some people will not come and deposit money. You have money, you not deposit it until I let you insert your SIM card. What kind of wahala is that?
Hmm. It's a very sad state of affairs. As somebody who actually went to school over there,
Yeah,
it's awful. It's appalling, and it's done with impunity. But the fact I want to raise with you is that it's not that we don't have the laws; it's the enforcement, honey. There's
exactly.
nobody to enforce it because it's the
And no
same
advocacy.
who are supposed to be holding the high standard, and all of them have their hands dirty. So who's going to enforce the law? The laws are all there. Every law that you can think about, it is there in our constitution. But the enforcers themselves are guilty of the said crime. So where are we going? That's the issue.
And that's what leaves room for such this papa policeman to do
Exactly.
what he did.
You got away with it. If this family don't have the support of some very strong people, he's gonna get away with it.
Well, I don't foresee that they do, because if he has any fear that somebody is going to hold him accountable, would he have done it?
No,
Yeah.
probably thinks he even had the right to do it because he's a security person.
Yes, he's entitled. He's above
Yeah,
the law.
Yeah.
Half the world. Yeah. I mean, it gets sadder and it's very unfortunate, but we all can do our part. You know, let's educate our girls, let's educate our women. We can do many great things for ourselves. You know, we can live a purposeful life, a life that goes beyond who we are as a gender, right? And who we are as a woman, and even goes beyond our background, right? Let's stay off the social media looking at people who are flashing their cars, they are driving Mercedes Benz. You know, I'm going to say this, guy. Sometimes people, oh, this one is driving Mercedes Benz. Then I want to ask, what year is that Mercedes Benz? Is it 1984 Mercedes Benz? Or is it 2022 Mercedes Benz? Don't be shallow. Okay. Somebody can be riding a Mercedes Benz. That Mercedes Benz could be 30 years old. Those cars look luxurious. So even if they are old, they still look good, right? So they could have bought it very, very cheap, but you will be wanting to have it. Meanwhile, probably you could even afford it, but you didn't know. Let's not be shallow. Let's not chase and look at the things what others are doing. Live a life that will bring blessing to you. Don't go and follow, you know, in all the religions, you're constantly being told, don't covet what is not yours. Whether you're Muslim, you're Christian, or you're a traditionalist, you're always being told that. Okay? So this is not a moral thing. This is the right thing to do. Okay? Don't go and follow somebody's husband. Don't go and be someone's side hen. Don't go and be someone's size man either.
Mm-hmm.
Right? All of that has consequences.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I will end with.
Because there was also a man who was servicing some rich man's wife. The man was an older man and he'd married a younger model. And the young boy was a gym instructor. And he was the one who is,
That story.
yeah, it was in the news some time back.
And he also got
Yeah, he also got removed.
mhm.
The rich man is believed hired people to do that on his
Yeah,
behalf. Yeah,
yeah,
he's not here anymore.
yeah. You're
Yeah,
gone.
yeah.
And if you're from a very poor family, that's the end. Right? So is it worth it?
It's
No.
not.
We always have to be very intentional. Is it worth it? Like no one wants to shame you. This is not about shame. This is not about judgment. This is about you weighing, thinking about and setting your priorities right. Right? Because most of the time people think somebody wants to shame them or somebody wants to judge them. No. It's about your priorities, right? And these happen all the time. Like, it's 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 just crazy. And as I said, this is not peculiar to whether you are Ghanaian, Nigerian, or whatever. It happens in Caucasian culture, Indian culture. In fact, I was talking to a few of my Indian friends about something similar last time, and then boom, this happened as well. So it's important that we think about ourselves and we always put ourselves first.
Hmm.
Love yourself. Love yourself. It's important that you love yourself.
And for this guy, uh, what kind of role models do we have? Everybody keeps going on about, yeah, you're always talking about the women and you don't say anything about the men. But what are the role models that men would follow? How many fathers do we have? Uncles,
Hmm.
brothers, cousins, nephews do we have in our families who kept the straight and narrow? Who were satisfied with one SIM card and kept the SIM card for one iPhone. How many? And because there are not many of that in our community compared to other races, what are we holding? What standards are we holding our men to? That's not to say that our brothers in the other races don't do some of the things that our own brothers do in our community, but maybe to a much lesser degree. And a lot of times because they don't want to be taken to the cleaners. And that is enough of a deterrent for a lot of them, isn't it, Ekuamua? Because you know that if you go and do side hen and side chicken and side SIM card and you're caught, they'll wipe you out. And so because of that, you don't do it. A word to the wise, as we've said today, is enough. Whether it's Maadwoa or Brakojo or whatever, it's both men and women. Enough is enough already. There's so much more important things that we need their youth like Maadwoa to be doing, not to be 6 foot under. A lot. So the narrative has just got to change. And we women to stop relying on somebody's son to raise us or help us or do anything. You have 10 fingers and 2 hands. Use it. And this, put it to good use and let that serve you. Ekuamua, if you've got something else to say, otherwise we're just done here.
I'm done. Thank you, everyone, for listening to us. And please share and also subscribe to Sika's YouTube channel.
We thank you so much. Have a fabulous week ahead. God richly bless you all. Thank you so much for being here. And we love you. Mwah. Bye, everybody.